I'm like nervous. I don't even know why I'm nervous. I'm like all by myself. Why do I need to be nervous, right? All right, internet friends. Today I am here to show you a couple ways of how you can finesse Ableton Live Lite. This is the first of 5 videos that's going to show you how to get around that 8-track limit and save yourself a little bit of money. So today we are going to get started with the drum rack. So the first thing you're going to want to do is open Ableton Live Lite. And then we're going to find ourselves a drum rack. I have a whole bunch of drum racks already saved. I'm going to find one that I like called Gritty. That's fun. So I'm going to open that. All right, now, the problem that we always find with Ableton Live Lite is that you're only given 8 tracks and you kind of want more than that. So I'm going to show you how to get around that with the drum rack. Now, obviously, this isn't the best solution, but if you're trying to save money and you want to get stuff on the free, this is what we're going to do. Have my kick, my snares, my hi-hats, right? So I'm going to open up this button. This is the show hide chain list. Going to click this. Now we have all of these. Now there's a couple different ways that we can do this, so I'm going to show you what you can do. So here's what we want to do. A lot of times you have your drum tracks all on separate tracks. Like you want your kick on one track, your snare on another track, hats, etc., etc. All right? But with Ableton Live Lite, you can't do that. I mean, you can, but then you don't have any other space for instruments. So here's what we're going to do. You can pick whatever it is that you want, and you can drag and drop it over here to any of your samples. So let's say that I don't like how this kick sounds. Maybe I want to change it. Let's say I want to EQ it, right? So I'm going to take this EQ3, I'm going to hold it, I'm going to drag it, and I can drop it right here on this kick. So that anytime I click this kick, I can see that it's going into this EQ3 over here. I don't know why I pointed. You can see what I'm doing. It's going into this EQ3. So maybe, I don't know, I want to cut out the lows of this kick. Or I want to cut out the mids. I don't know. I'm just pressing buttons at this point, trying to show you what we're doing. Okay? So let's say you want to EQ your kick. Let's say you want a compressor on your snare. Now what you're going to notice is when I click on this snare, the EQ is not there anymore. Because what I did is I dropped that EQ only onto the kick. Okay? So I can EQ only the kick. I can only affect the kick, which kind of makes it like the kick has its own entire track. But if you see over here, it's still one MIDI track. I still haven't added any extra tracks. So let's say I want to drop a compressor on my snare. So I'm going to take this compressor. I'm going to pull it here. Then when I click on my snare, boom, here's my compressor. So I'm still affecting each single sample, but I don't need all of those tracks for that sample. So that's something really cool that I think I love about the drum rack and Ableton is that you can individually drag and drop those things that you want to do. Now, maybe you have plugins that you want to use, right? So you don't have to use just the stock Ableton plugins for your drag and drop, right? So one of my favorite EQs is Nova. So I'm going to find Nova, right? And I can take Nova and I can drag and drop it right here. So now, once I click on this hat, I have Nova right on there. So I can EQ this hat all by itself without using an extra track because I was able to drag and drop my plugin onto only this track. All right, one more cool thing that I'm going to show you about Ableton Live Lite's drum track. Maybe 2. Got ahead of myself there. Maybe 2. All right. So if you notice here, I have an arpeggiator on my hat sample. That's something cool that you can do. It doesn't have to be audio effects. You can also drop MIDI effects onto any of these samples. So let's delete it so you get to see what I'm talking about. So all I did was take an arpeggiator. Now you can take any of these arpeggiators. Let's do bouncy chords. We can drop it onto that hat. Now what that's going to do is when I hold this hat sample, it's going to arpeggiate it. It's going to keep playing that sound. But because we did bouncy chords, it's going to add 2 steps. The distance is going to be 12 semitones, so it's going to sound a little bit different. So when I hold it, you're going to hear that I'm only using this one sample and I'm not having to play in my hats. And I'm only using that one little strip of MIDI. Now, this isn't necessarily something that you need for Ableton Live Lite. You can still do it with any other version of Ableton, but I still think that's really cool. Now, I'm going to leave that on there. The last thing that I wanted to show you is over here. There's this Show Hide Macro Controls button. All right, so I'm going to click on this Show Hide Macro Controls. If you see, we have all of these empty macro spaces. Maybe you like to, you like to fiddle with some knobs, right? So we're going to go over here. Whoops. We're going to go over here. Let's click on our kick right now. Right here in this little box, it says drop devices here. I am going to go to a reverb. Let's just, okay, I already had Hall open. Let's go to church. Let's go to church. We are going to take this reverb now. I have this reverb on a chain. You can add other stuff to this chain, right? You can add pitch modulation. Maybe you want to add like a flanger. I don't know how you pronounce it. Whatever, right? I'm going to drop it right on that chain. Now, what I can do is I can actually affect these macros that are in this chain. So I'm going to right-click my dry wet. I don't know why I have such a... I'm going to right-click the dry wet, and I'm going to map it to macro 1. So now any sample that I click on is going to be mapped to that macro 1. Now, if you wanted to turn some knobs, you're going to have to MIDI map. I'm not going to teach you that right now. That's not what we're here to do. Okay? But I can map that dry wet now so that whenever I turn or whatever I want to do, whatever I want to automate, can be put onto any one of these samples. I can also, I'm going to click on my chain again. I can also map this flanger, whatever we want to call it. Let's say I want to map the amount. So I'm going to right click it and I can map that to macro 2 over here. Now, I want to show you another thing. This is, I know I only said one thing and then I added 2 and now this is like the third thing, but whatever. We're going to add this in. So I'm going to click to this little triangle button, right? And we're going to turn its orientation. Now, if you can see here, all of your samples are kind of on their own track within this track. If I click on my kick, I can go here, look, and I can see that my EQ3 is here. So maybe you don't want to go straight from the drum rack because I can see how it's a little bit confusing. There's a lot of stuff displayed out. Maybe you just want to go from each individual track. So I can just click on my kick and then I can drop an EQ there. I can drop a compressor right here onto my kick. On my snare, I can drop some reverb, I can take this, drop it right on here. And like I said earlier, you can drop whatever plugins it is that you want straight onto those tracks. So you don't have to feel like you're limited or feel like you have to keep creating tracks for each one of your individual drum sounds. So that's pretty much all I have for today. Pretty quick. I feel like I talked really fast. That's okay. Whatever. Right? So if you liked this, you can subscribe, as they all say. Click that little button. If you didn't, I'm glad you even made it this far in the video, and, better luck next time. Hopefully you find a video out there that you like. Yeah, so deuces. Hope you have fun. There will be a number 2. When? I don't know, but we'll make it happen. Love you.